Chris is a fourth-year MFA student in literary translation. He translates from Italian and he can't eat or drink anything without spilling. Welcome, Chris Tamigi.
Hi. Okay, so all right. The novel I'm translating from Italian, In Your Name, or A Nome Tuo, by Mauro Kovacic. It's made up of two novella, basically, and this is the beginning of the second novella. The room has changed since last time. It always happens this way. The medicine bottles have vanished from the dresser, the shutters are open, an array of sunlight filters through the houses across the way and imprints itself on the freshly washed curtains. It is in the bright white of these old polyester curtains that we meet when I say, "Good morning, Carla." Carla just smiles back at me in response. She's seated on the bed with 3 pillows behind her back and the colostomy bag well hidden under the edge of the bedsheet. In order to speak with me, she's for a second pulled her gaze away from her husband behind me. One chair for me, one for him, and another quick spin through the kitchen. Small movements that allow him to hide his sobs. There is almost no foul odor anymore, if one excludes the lemon disinfectant. "Come over here, Ennio," Carla says to her husband, and he comes up and caresses her back with his fat, hairy fingers. But he doesn't sit yet. Last time he greeted me at the door wearing slippers. Now he has on a pair of polished loafers and a clean shirt that I think dates back to the same era as the polyester curtains. He's clean-shaven and he's combed what little hair is left across his head, just as he did when he would enter the dance hall sporting a pompadour. They're a little over 70. We're in Cesena. It's impossible not to picture them dancing. "Have you taken any Vaxilon in the last few days?" I ask Carla. Carla smiles, touching the bottle on a nightstand. "Even so, it would be better if we take another," I say, and Carla quickly opens the bottle, pours herself some water, and swallows the pill. Vaxilon is an anti-nausea drug. It will help keep her from vomiting. Ennio takes the pitcher and runs to the kitchen to refill it, even though it's still almost full. The sound of the faucet will help him. When he returns, his eyes are even redder and more swollen. He is fairly composed. He knows he can't break down now. He just looks like he might have caught a bad case of conjunctivitis. "Stay here, Ennio," she says, taking his hand. Today, Carla doesn't speak a word to me. She smiles at me, but she doesn't speak. It's as if I were already waiting for her on the other side, as if I were the one she will be talking to afterwards. She sits and smiles at me, wearing blush and thick lipstick that was applied with care, and her dark hair styled into the coquettish ringlets that were popular in the 70s. She's here, but at the same time she's already gone. Is this why she's smiling at me? Carla had been a beauty. Judging by her pose in the photo on the nightstand, with her legs crossed on the footboard of a Vespa, holding a pair of black gloves in one hand, she must have also been vain. She must have swept across the dance floor before she met Ennio. As soon as I saw her, I was dumbstruck, he told me the first time, when the photos on the nightstand were still surrounded by bottles, vials, drainage tubes, and just a sliver of light came in through the window. She too spoke a lot the first time. When she saw my eyes settle on the bag hanging under the sheet, she said, "If you end up on the operating table with stage 4 cancer of the uterus, they also remove part of your rectum. Cuneiform resection of the contralateral ovary. Contralateral ovary. Isn't that a mouthful? Yes. Cuneiform resection, peritoneal washing. I spent 3 days reading the medical report. Learning those big words gave me strength. Studying the enemy to fight it all the better, right? After 3 cycles of platinum-based chemotherapy, 2 new metastases appeared, one in the liver and one in the brain. They threw up their hands. 6 months, they said. During the first meeting, they talk a lot. During the second, however, I tend to disappear. The client knows I'm there, but her gaze drifts elsewhere. Now, Carla, you can still change your mind. I'll tell you once again, you can turn back at any point. Forgive me, but I have to ask you once more. After that, I won't ask again. Do you want us to stop? Carla shakes her head, smiling at me. Okay then. Now I'm going to leave you two alone for a half hour. I'm going to go in the other room and prepare things, I say. And then turning to Ennio, do we have everything? Yes, you'll find it all on the buffet table. Very good, I say, rising from my seat. Carla, would you like to listen to the song you picked out? She looks at me with that indecipherable smile of hers. It's okay, don't worry about it. You can ask me to put it on later. In the kitchen, I find the signed declaration, the envelope full of cash, a glass for the tetracarbitone, one for the liquor, and a bottle of Cointreau. She chose the Cointreau. I see Carla seated at a little table on a summer evening, the sea breeze, friends spinning around the dance floor, the sound of the waves pressing the whole crowd of people into a pulsating cell of light and music. And she's there, hair pulled back, baring her neck for the benefit of predators, the thin cigarette between her fingers, along with the glass. Cointreau. In the 80s, the latest fashionable drink among the middle class. Was Carla happy there at that little table? I put the money in my backpack, put on the gloves, the shoe covers I put on at the doorway, and take out the tetracarbitone. This box is labeled Metalvet, but it is also called Perianestetol, or Settlecort, or Carbiton, or Lampiatol. They almost all have photos of dogs on the front. This one has a lovely Neapolitan Mastiff against a sky blue background. Above to the left, net contents 100 milliliters. Below to the right, sleep-inducing sedative anesthetic for veterinary use. I pour it into the glass, put the vial back in the box, and the box in the backpack. I pour the Cointreau into the other glass, while coming from the next room I hear only composed whispers, and every so often her voice saying, slightly more audibly, "Come on now, dear, none of that." "Excuse me," I say, entering the room a half hour later. They're embracing each other. He towers over her with his bouncer's frame, sitting next to her as she caresses his big face. Then he squeezes her head in the hollow between his arms, as if he were trying to pull it off. "Excuse me," I say again. "You need to come with me now," hearing which he quickly gets up and follows me into the kitchen. "This all needs to be drunk down," I say when we're in front of the buffet table, and Ennio's sobbing by my side. "And with this, if Carla prefers, we can add ice." Ennio looks at me with tears coming down his cheeks like the babies in portraits painted by beachside artists. "With or without ice doesn't make a difference," I say. "Fix the drink the way she likes it, okay?" "Okay," he says, and takes the ice from the freezer. "The important thing is that you don't touch those glasses after you've placed them on the nightstand. Carla has to be the one who picks them up. She needs to do it all by herself. You remember what we went over, right? I don't give a damn about the consequences if you want to know the truth. In fact, it's better if I do end up in jail. Otherwise, I'll kill myself. Ennio, listen to me. Right now, you need to help Carla, and this isn't the way to help her. Don't act foolish," I tell him, looking up at him from a foot below. Obviously, Ennio isn't going to end up in prison, nor is he going to kill himself. He might want to with all his heart, but he won't do anything stupid. It always happens this way. Carla waits for us as if we were bringing out a birthday cake. She watches Ennio come in with a tray and makes room for it on the nightstand between the pitcher and the reading glasses. She smudged her makeup, but her smile is less bewildered now. Determination has put out that glimmer of confusion in her eyes. "Now, Carla, would you like to hear the song you picked out?" Carla shakes her head. "That's fine. I'll listen to it myself later," I say. "It's been a pleasure meeting you. And now it's time for me to say goodbye," and I brush her forearm with my gloveless hand. "Thank you," she says to me while I turn to leave. Her husband is already sitting by her side, and then he looks at me the way one watches ghosts when they evaporate in the opalescent break of day. I was wrong to say that thing about the song, and I was wrong to speak in the future tense. Realizing that the world will go on, that there will be someone listening to a song, could be unbearable at that moment. Who knows if I'll ever stop making mistakes? Anyway, I think to myself, it's always better than those first few times when I'd let those observed "see you later" slip out. From the blind corner of the hallway, I watch as the last steps are carried out, with my hand in the backpack feeling the bottle of Opusum, the syrup that will help her vomit all up in case something goes wrong. The tetracarbitone is so bitter that there's a chance someone won't drink enough of it, but in 3 years it hasn't happened to me yet, and it won't happen today either. At the final moment, no one lets themselves be discouraged by something as stupid as that. Ennio and Carla kiss, but the kiss doesn't last long. They say things that I can't quite hear. Then she sits him back down. She takes off her wedding band and puts it in his hand. It's almost all done in one movement. He takes it just in time to realize that she's already picked up the glass of tetracarbitone from the nightstand and swallowed it down to the last drop. Now she enjoys her Cointreau, short sips, with her nose inside the large circumference of the tumbler so as to smell the last whiff of oranges, while he caresses her cheek with the back of his fingers and says simply, "My little one." Just that, "my little one," repeated ad infinitum. Carla, meanwhile, doesn't say anything. All those famous last words, sentences, nothing. She places the glass back down on the nightstand, making the ice give off a soft clink, and she smiles at her husband who, caressing her, speaks from a far-off place, ever more distant, a place that's now impossibly far away, where she too had been up to when she was smiling, and now, sinking into sleep, there's her eyelid's last movement she will never see again. "My little one," Ennio says while Carla's chest rises for a little while longer, and then it stops. In reality, Carla is still with us. The heart continues to beat for several minutes after the breath has ceased. This isn't an event, it's a process. In a fit body, it could last up to 15 minutes. It would still be possible to intervene. An EMS squad would be ready to wield respirators to pump Carla's sternum with both hands. It's a short period in which the procession can be turned around. What does Carla see from this window? What is she doing? Dreaming? Waving goodbye? Shutting her eyes? Is she able to feel the touch of living beings? Does she feel the last burst of adrenaline, pressure pushing down on her, the tail end of the fish? Or inside the window, are there just light blue islands on the shimmering periphery, like the residual traces of oxygen on the radium x-rays of brains in the morgue? "My little one," Ennio says, crying softly. "I don't know how to thank you," he tells me a half hour later when we're in the kitchen with his eyes tiny between their swollen lids and his wife's lipstick all over his face. "I didn't think she would go so peacefully." "I told you she would," I say, radiant. "Now I need to call my children. They'll understand." Yes, they'll understand. But it will be a long trip for them. From Canada, right?" "Yes, one flying in from Canada and the other from New York," he says, straining to continue the conversation. Ennio is just waiting for me to go so he can return to his wife, to that gray stone which up until an hour ago contained his wife. "I'm sure they will help with things." Yes, he says, looking at my shoulder. "Very good. Well, now I have to say goodbye. Keep this on you," I tell him, indicating the sheet of paper with the declaration, just in case. "But you see that there won't be any need for that. The doctor will certify death by natural causes. On the other hand, remember to throw away the facts if you haven't done so already." Yes, and he picks up a piece of paper from the buffet table. Above the signature in Carla's round handwriting, it says, "I, the undersigned, Carla Sorrenti, in full possession of my mental facilities, have decided to end my life before the illness affecting me compromises my human dignity. No one else is involved in this act, which I executed with complete physical and psychological autonomy." That's it.